Yo guys, what's going on? Blossoms back. Welcome back to another episode of Best in RQ. I want to revisit the first ever tracks that I did for this series, and that is indeed the Hairpin Road. The meta in the game has changed a lot since the last time I made a video around Hairpin Road. There has been like 5 or 6 different updates, RQ changes, RQ corrections, this and that and the third. So everything has kind of changed around in terms of the winners and what is the best car to use for the Hairpin Road in each RQ. We're working from RQ10 all the way to the top to see what are the best cars you can use on a specific track set. Now, if you've seen this series before, you know how it works already, right? I show you the car, I show you the time, I show you the tune. Very simple, okay? Now, Hairpin Road, why I like to revisit this track is because until today, Hairpin Road is this weird place where you gotta find a sweet spot in your cars. It's gotta have just enough MRA, just enough handling, and just low enough 0 to 60. It needs like a very specific blend of all 3 of those things for it to work out. You will realize that in Hairpin Road, it's kind of hard to actually gauge what is the best car. Sometimes you would think that a car that you own is the best car or the better car in a race for a hairpin, and then it turns out you're wrong. And Hairpin Road's an interesting one, man. It's an interesting one. It's not about having the most handling, it's not about having the lowest 0 to 60, and it's not about having the most MRA. It's just like the sweet spot. You need to find the balance. So we're going to start off with RQ10 here. So Morgan 4x4 1600 that takes the cake. Moving on to RQ11 is going to be the Alfa Romeo Sprint GT. Now, as always, the tune is going to be over here, and the time is going to be over here as well, okay? Now, moving on now with the Lancia Fulvia Coupe. Now, until today, still one of the best commons in the game, in my opinion. It is ridiculously cheap to use. I think it used to be RQ11 at one point. AT handling, it is very lightweight. It has a 0 to 60, which I can't say the same for many commons. Yeah, I think it's a decent car to use overall. Great little bargain, 52.19. And you're gonna see these times slowly move down. Now we've got the Alfa Romeo Sprint GTV, as well as the Nissan EXA with a time of 51.36. Now cutting that even more is 51.08 with the Alfa GTA 1300, and now we're going sub 51 seconds with the Alfa Romeo 1750. I would say that, you know, for the past few years in top drives, I want to say like maybe 4 years of top drives, maybe even 5 years of top drives, since Italian Renaissance, it feels like the performance tire niche for commons has always been dominated by the Alfa Romeos. And these cars, they kind of withstand the test of time. Most new updates that bring commons do not bring performance tire cars that handle relatively well for their RQ. I mean, think about the most recent one we had with German Powerhouse. Almost all of the commons were freaking standard tires, and if they were like performance tires, they were like from the 1930s or 1940s or something like that, right? So I feel like the Alfa Romeos, they've really been some of the best commons for a very, very, very long time, like these, you know, 1750 GTVs. All right, moving on. Nissan 280ZX. This used to be an uncommon, right? So this is going to be a new winner for us with a time of 50.28. And then next up we have the Alfa Romeo Spider Quadrifoglio Verde with a time of sub 50 seconds, 49.61 on the hairpin dry. And then last but not least, the Renault Espace Spider with a time of 49.24. Now, as always, guys, I will give you a quick little recap of every rarity. So as you can see, these are all the best cars from RQ10 all the way to RQ19. The best car for the common hairpin road now is the Renault Espace, which is a new car. It came this year. So that's why I wanted to revisit this video, because the last time I made this, the Renault Espace didn't exist. The Nissan 280, which is the best RQ17, I believe, was an uncommon, etc., right? So moving on to the uncommons now with the Citroen Karen, starting us off with a time of 49.36. Now the time is highlighted in red because it does lose to the Renault Espace Spider, right? So although the Citroen Karen is the best RQ20, and out of all RQ20s in the game, this has the best time, it does not beat the best of RQ19. So if you wanted to go and use a hairpin car, you had 20 RQ left, go for the RQ19 Renault Espace. You save yourself 1 RQ, and it is better than what RQ20 has to offer anyway. Now, moving on is the Mitsubishi Starion GSR. Has a time of 49.19, so this is your new king of the hill. Moving on is the Nissan 280ZX Turbo with a time of 48.99, and then we have the Hyundai Scoop at 48.69. Now, one thing I did notice, and I guess this is a bad time for me to say it, because the Dodge Daytona Turbo Z is not as good as the Hyundai. So again, if you have 24 RQ to use, you're better off using the RQ23 Hyundai and saving yourself 1 RQ for you to use somewhere else. The Dodge Daytona is not the best option, although it is the best RQ24 to use, or it has, you know, the lowest time for the hairpin road for any 24 in the game. The Hyundai Scoop has a better time, ever so slightly, 48.74 compared to 48.69. This is why the hairpin road is a very interesting place, right? The Hyundai, you know, over here, same 0 to 60 as the Dodge Daytona. The Dodge Daytona even handles 2 more, right? 2 more handling points. And honestly, if you thought that the Daytona was going to beat the Hyundai, I would completely agree. I would think the same, and I really don't know how this works, but now you know, right? RQ25 is a 4-way tie, so I'm just going to put everything over here. You are spoiled for choice. You can either use the Morgan 4x4s, the Mitsuoka Himiko, or the Honda Civic. Now, in my opinion, my car of choice is the Mitsuoka Himiko, which, by the way, 332, right? Very interesting. The Honda Civic CRX is pretty decent as well, but my choice would be the Mitsuoka Himiko. It's just one of the best versatile RQ25 uncommons out there. Moving on, RQ26 is the Morgan Plus 4. They're going to be a decent amount of Morgans that you see in this video, actually. Decent amount of Morgans, decent amount of Corvettes. And I think one other, but I can't remember what was the other one. Anyway, Morgan Plus 4, 47.94. And as I was saying earlier, compared to the last time I did a video like this on Hairpin Road, the King of the Hills are a lot more consistent. That is to say that the best of 26 won't beat the best of 27, and the best of 27 won't beat the best of 28. There are not as many outliers as there used to be, which is good, because that means that the game is at least getting a little bit more balanced. The Mitsubishi Starion GSR3, yeah, there you go, 47.81 with the time. And next one is the Dodge Conquest TSI, and this loses to the Starion, by the way. So the Starion still has a time of 47.81. Of course, I just have to say it, right? I just have to say it. I said that things was getting more consistent, then we see something like this. You know, at least it's not that big of a margin, because this is not going to beat the 29, right? So, or at least the 27 is not going to beat the 29. So yeah, although the Conquest is the best 28, the Mitsubishi Starion, which is almost essentially the same car, is still a better option to use. Now, moving on to RQ29, you've got the Suzuki Cappuccino, which has a time of 47.33 when you upgrade it 323. So overall, as you can see, these are your winners for the uncommon hairpin niche. So as you can see, handling, it doesn't really go as high as 86. The highest is 86, but then again, you've got some low-ish 0 to 60s in here as well. The Morgan Plus 4 is a little bit of an interesting one, right? Not even AC handling, but it's the best RQ26 and below, mainly attributed to its low 0 to 60. So I guess if you have a low enough 0 to 60 and your handling is bad, it's still good enough to get you through the hairpin road. Very, very interesting track. Also, another reason why I like to take a look at hairpin is because it's one of the few track sets where 323 is better than 233 when it comes to the higher rarity cars, which I think is very interesting. Fiat 500 Abarth Scorpion. Oh yeah, there are a lot of Fiats, a lot of Abarths. I mean, I think the rares are they're gonna be like 5 of these, right? So 4726. Next up is the Alfa Romeo Spider V6, 4714. Then you've got the 595 Turismo, 4696. And then you've got the Morgan Plus E, followed by the Abarth 595 Pista. Now again, one thing to note is that the Abarth, although it's the best RQ34, it's not the best car to use, the RQ34 and below. You'd rather off use the Morgan Plus E, which has a time of 46.56, compared to the 595's 46.66. Now this also, by the way, very interesting, a tune of 332. Pay attention to those tunes, guys, alright? I might not be talking about them all the time, but there are some pretty interesting ones out there for sure. For sure. Anyway, a lot of Fiats, right? So Abarth 500E, RQ35 with a time of 45.71. If I remember correctly, this is probably one of the best ones that you can get, if not the best. No, this is the best. Yeah, this is the best one. The Abarth 500E, the yellow version, basically, with a time of 45.66, which I believe no car beats, right? So the Ford Evos has a time of 45.74, but it loses to the Abarth 500E. Same thing goes for the RQ38. The 695 loses to the 500E. Again, for 4596 does not beat 4566. And then we've got RQ39 with the Lotus Elan SE with a time of 4578. That still loses to the Abarth. Now, to be fair, this car hits above its weight for the Hairpin Road. The Abarth 500E has always hit above its weight for the Hairpin Road. It's been the best car for the Hairpin Road since it was added into the game. Nothing has beat it yet. And it's just something that I need to remember. That, you know, it is an RQ36. It might not be the highest RQ rare in the game, but it is still the best rare for the Hairpin Road. So there you go. So one thing to note over here, as you can see, Lotus Elan SE is the best 39 that you can use, but honestly, when it comes to the rares, if there's a Hairpin Road, go use that RQ36 if you can. It will save you a lot of RQ. It's the best in the rarity. It is a very impressive car. And look at all the Fiats. I told you there was going to be 5, and there's actually 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ain't that crazy? Okay, moving on to the super rares. And again, the Abarth is still taking names with a time of 4566, the best of RQ40, which is now a completely different rarity. The Mitsuoka Orochi doesn't have a better time, 4591. Now, this in my opinion is unacceptable, honestly. It's a different rarity now. You need a lot more resources to max a super rare compared to a rare, as in like you need higher rarity cars, and you need to spend significantly more cash to upgrade a super rare compared to a rare. Honestly, I really don't think that an RQ36 should be beating an RQ40 in this comparison, so this is pretty sad. But yeah, the Abarth, you know, credit to it, it is a wonderful RQ saver. Moving on is the Volvo V40. Finally, we got a new king of the hill. It is the Volvo V40 of a time of 4554. Then next up, we've got the Alpha GTV of a time of 4533. Moving on now is the Renault Laguna concept car with a time of 4519, being the next best king of the hill. Then the Mazda RX-500 with a time of 4509, and now, oh nope, I thought we were gonna go sub 45, but not yet. With the Mazda MX-5 just edging it out by 0.003. That's crazy. 323 once again, and now we go sub 45. Again, it's another Fiat. It's a prize car this time. The Posto record. So hopefully you guys went 323 on this one. It is a prize car. I don't know when they're going to give it back. It is a super rare prize car, so the odds of it coming back is pretty high. There might be a chance where this has already come out twice. I really don't pay attention to this too much, but yeah, I guess 323 is the way to go if you want to use it on the Hairpin Road. 4474. Now moving on is the Mazda Daimyo with a time of 4439, and we are dropping even more of the Infiniti Q60 4416, and last but not least, the Infiniti Q60 Sport at 4409. Now remember the last time I did this video, the best super rare was the Q60 Sport, as it still is today. Now the tune here is very interesting. 233 on that. 233. Anyway, these are your best super rares for the Hairpin Road. We start off with the Mitsuoka, which honestly the Mitsuoka Orochi not that great, okay? Like a rare beats that, okay? So even though this is the best super rares, you know, whatever, that Mitsuoka Orochi might be the best RQ40, but that's it. It's still going to lose to a rare, all right? So keep that in mind. But every other winner here does not lose to a rare. So the Volvo, Alfa, Renault, and they all kind of skew upwards to the Infiniti Q60. I don't think any car outperformed anyone else, right? We went up step by step over here, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I like that little, you know, balanced gradient. Now, moving on to the ultra rares. Okay, BMW Z4 S-Drive. I'm so glad that this beats the Infiniti. Very, very close, right? This is 44 flat. Previous car, 4409. Very, very, very close. But hey, if I'm paying significantly more to max this car, I want to beat it. I want to beat, you know, the rarities that came before it, right? So Z4, good start. You beat the super rares. You did your job. On top of that, it also beats all the 51s. It beats the RX-7, which can give me the best time of 4413, which, by the way, that loses to the super rare, okay? This loses to the super rare on the Hairpin Road. To be fair, the RX-7 isn't really like the most hairpin car ever. Like, it's more of like a twisty road kind of thing, kind of situation. But anyway, Z4 is a better car to use. It's got a lower 0 to 60. It kind of, you know, finds a better balance, I guess. Alpha Mito, 4373, so that's a new king of the hill. And then we have the Morgan Plus 4, 4353. Now we go even lower to the Nissan Fairlady. It is the best RQ54 that you can use with a time of 4360, but it will not beat the Morgan Plus 4. So remember, take note, okay? If you need to use, if you have RQ54 left over and you got a hairpin road that you want to put the car on, instead of using the best of RQ54, use the Morgan Plus 4 instead. That's a better option for you, okay? Now moving on is the Mazda RX-7 Bathurst 4346. Followed by the BMW M Coupe 4326, and yeah, we see some very interesting winners now. The Bizzarini, look at that, 4323, 3.790, doesn't have the best handling. There are a lot of Ultras that are RQ57 with low ground clearance, just like this car, that can get like 94, 95 handling, right? Or even maybe with 1 or 2 of 96, maybe. And honestly, there's some cars below an RQ with like 102 handling, right? Like the Renault Clio Cup car, for example. That being said, it's about the balance here. It's got a low 0 to 60, it's very lightweight, decent MRA, and decent handling as well. So it makes it the best RQ57, 4323. Then we have the Morgan Plus 4 race car, 4308. We've got the Renault Desire, 4301. And then we have the Bizzarina 5300 GT Corsa Revival at 4278. By the way, has the same exact time as one of the BMW Z4s of this RQ as well. It does beat out this BMW Z4 though, the one that came in, I believe, German powerhouse. So this RQ61 is a time of 4285. But it does lose to the RQ60 Bizzarini. So once again, if you have 61 RQ to use the RQ60, save yourself the 1 RQ, use it somewhere else, right? So yeah, this is honestly a little bit of a disappointment, but yeah, the Bizzarini, at least there's some value to it, 3591. The Porsche Cayman as well loses to the Bizzarini. So the Bizzarini is not only the best RQ60 and below, it is the best RQ62 and below, being RQ60. So I gotta say, the Bizzarini, pretty impressive stuff, right? 4281 is the best the Porsche Cayman can cook up. But now we got a new winner. We got the Morgan Aero Super Sports with a time of 4258, and then the best car, or the best ultra rare for the hairpin road dry, goes to the Alfa Romeo 4C Spider with a time of 4243. So again, here are all your winners. The Alfa Romeo 4C Spider remains the best car you can use for the Ultras and below. Some cars for you to take into account will include the Bizzarini, the Renault Desire, the Morgan Plus 4, this Bizzarini as well. Honestly, these two Bizzarinis came as a huge shock to me. Like, I was like, wow, I did not know that they were that good, right? At Hairpin Road, right? So pretty impressive stuff. Morgan Plus 4 is decent. This hits above its weight. It beats all the RQ54s as well. Then the BMW Z4 over here hits above its weight, beating all the RQ51s as well as 50s and below. So those are things to take into account. Now, moving on to the epics. Now, when it comes to the epics, the grading here is pretty good. When we move up in RQ, we have a new winner almost every single time. I think the only 2 times that occur where the best car of that RQ loses to the next RQ it comes after, I believe 78. So 77 beats 78. It's an Ultima beating the Lotus, and I think there's like one more example. Anyway, Lotus Evora S. Again, I'm very happy to tell you the Lotus Evora S with a time of 4240 does beat out the Alfa 4C Spider. Once again, very, very close by like 300ths of a second or something like that. But hey, that's all that matters, okay? If I'm spending 15 ultra rares, significant more cash, right? I want it to beat every ultra rare in the game. That is a non-negotiable for me, okay? So Lotus Evora as good stuff. Now moving on, the Chevy Chevelle Laguna is up next, 4210. That's 0 to 60, man. 2.7 seconds is unreal, honestly. You would think that it would hit way above its weight at 0 to 60, but it really doesn't. It's the best of 66 and it stays there. The best 67 is the Porsche 718 of a time of 4201, and then we go sub 42 seconds to the Corvette, and this is where we're going to start to see a lot of Corvette C6s, C7s, and C8s, right? So here we go, 4191 with 223. Oh yeah, this was a huge one, by the way. This is highlighted in gold because usually 323 is the better tune for the hairpin road, but big but this is better at 233. So I really don't know sometimes if it's very rare for a 323 to beat out a 233, or sorry, it's very rare for a 233 to beat out a 323 on hairpin road. So if it's highlighted in gold, those are your outliers. Anyway, where is the next car? There it is, the RQ69 Roof Arcade Coupe 323, by the way. Again, 4178. followed by the Lotus Evora 4173. Look at this, all the tunes are 323 unless stated otherwise. Lotus Evora 323 4163, and then here we go, 233. A Lotus Exige SLF1 beating out the 323 variant with a time of 4143. So that's one thing to take into account as well. It's one entire second faster than that Alpha 4C. I think the Alpha 4C was 4243. This is 4143, so that's pretty cool. Moving on is the Alfa Romeo Pandion. I have this car 233, but the best way for the hairpin road drive will be 323 configuration. 4130 is the time. Moving on is the Evora GT430. Again, the tune here, 233. I really don't know when a 323 car is better on the hairpin and when a 233 car is better on the hairpin. I really do not know. But, you know, what I can tell you are based off the information that is provided on Top Drive's record. So what you're seeing over here, basically. 4121, that's the time. Now moving on, Ford Mustang FR500, 4120, that's the time. Then you've got the Ultima Can-Am, 4080. And then you have the Ultima GTR 4066. And here you go. Your only outlier is the Lotus Exige V6 Cup. So this is a time of 4073. Although it's the best RQ78 on the hairpin road, you're better off using the Ultima GTR, which has a time of 4066. So there you go. If you have 78 RQ to use, and you have a hairpin road, as you know how it goes, go for the 77 instead. Save yourself 1 RQ, right? Anyway, best car still goes to the Chevrolet Corvette with a time of 4043. So this is still the best epic that you can use for the hairpin road and below. The C8, fantastic car. Now remember, 323. I think most of us are going to go for 233 on this, which is completely fine because I think 233 beats everything besides its 323 version. But yeah, this car is fantastic for the hairpin road dry. So overall, these are your winners for the epic ranks for the hairpin road dry, from the Chevy Corvette C8 all the way down to the Lotus Evora. Like I said, it goes up in a pretty nice gradient. Every car is beating every car besides the 78 and the 77, which are your two outliers. Anyway, moving on to the legendaries. We start off with the Corvette C8. Once again, the C8 beats the C8, right? The legendary one. So 233 this time, not 323, because at this point, not a lot of people are going to 323 their legendaries just for one track set. So there is a very high chance that a 323 version of the Z51 will be better than the 233. That being said, I don't think anyone else is crazy or rich enough to try. Again, who wants to max their legendary for one specific track set? And I don't think HUT should ever force any player to do anything like that as well, because that's just freaking evil. Anyway, 4010. Moving on is the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Look at the tune, guys. This is a 323 911 GT3 RS. It's still losing to a 233 Corvette Stingray RQ80. So honestly, this might be an RQ80 pull. You might be getting this from a carbon fiber or a ceramic pack, and you might be, you know, sad. You might be annoyed. It's like, oh my goodness, an RQ80 is kind of trash. But at least you can have solace in knowing that it is not only the best RQ80 in a hairpin road, it beats out all the RQ81s as well. There is, you know, small wins to be taken from that knowledge. Now, moving on to RQ82 is the C7Z06 with a time of 40.06, and then you've got the 911 GT3 at 40.01. Love this. One of the #1 cars I want to unpack. Please do not give me four-wheel drive shit any longer. Just give me this. I don't care if it's like RQ83, like if it's a low legendary RQ. It is a sick photo. It is an amazing car, and I just want it. Please. Now, moving on, we've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Now, this one's going to remain the best for a couple of RQ. I can't really fault it. This thing is a little bit of a specialist already. Slick tires, RQ84, over 100 handling, 0 to 60 of like 0 basically. It's super low. At 233, it's a time of 39.58. Yes, it's going to beat out the Cadillac by quite a decent amount as well. But the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is a pretty damn good car. It is also going to beat out the Dodge Viper SRT ACRX, which is a prize car. So if you want to save some RQ, I mean at this point, we're not really saving RQ anymore. If you can use an RQ84 for anything that isn't a drag, I don't think you're in a situation where where you need to save RQ anymore. But the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is a good one to use. And finally, it loses out to the Corvette C8, the Z06 again, this time with a time of 39.53, baby. Look at that, very, very close, 0.005 difference right between those two cars. Anyway, moving on now is again the C8 performance package with 39.28, and then we've got the Radical RXC with a time of 39.23. Anyway, guys, moving on from RQ90 and above, I am changing it up. So you're just gonna see literally everything because there are so many legendary RQs. You know, it goes from like 80 all the way to like 112. There's like 40 different RQ levels within Legendary itself, and there are not a lot of cars. The sample sizes are getting smaller every time. So here's everything, basically, from RQ90 all the way to 101. So as you can see over here, these are your best cars and all the times that are above. You guys can have a look at this if you want to. These three over here, the Sesto Elemento, the Alfa Romeo, the Radical SR10, somehow, some way, there are 323 times for these examples, okay? But everything else, if it's not noted with the 323, it means that it was upgraded in the 233 configuration, okay? Anyway, last but not least, just to end it all off, here you go. These are the best hairpin cars in the entire game. The best one goes to the Peugeot 208 T16 with a time of 36.93. The 233 and 323 variants are tied. The Volkswagen IDR Pikes Peak comes next, the Audi R18, followed by the Rimac Nevera and the Pininfarina Battista Anniversario. There are a couple RQs that are undocumented, basically in between RQ102 all the way to RQ106, but like I said, if I'm deciding not to put it in the video, it's pretty insignificant in my opinion. Yes, I am calling, you know, a Koenigsegg Yamera's time pretty insignificant. At this point, do you even need to watch a video if you want to fit an RQ, if you have enough space to fit an RQ104 car in hairpin? Probably not. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. These are all your best winners for the hairpin road. Let me know down in the comments below what track set you want to see next. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.